Duplex 4-floor villa. The manor door needs the interior system to be opened. 2 standard Secret Service teams patrolling outside the manor, 1 team inside. A total of 18 Secret Service agents. Leaves house 8 a.m. sharp every morning, travels in a bulletproof car. 2 teams follow for protection. Has lunch at the interior restaurant of the government building. The same team follows along for protection. Hans spoke softly into the headset as he pushed his sunglasses. The target lives in Maple's political area. Patrolling police and sentries are packed along the roads. If you're doing it on the streets, you'd better be quick about it. The calm voice of a woman, Vernina, was heard through the headset. Then let's do it on the streets. This reminds me of the old days. A patrolling police officer walked around the corner of the street and saw Hans. He walked forward and yelled, "Identification check." Hans took out the fake ID that looked exactly like a real one. The officer glanced through and returned it. "No lingering here. Move along." Hans moved his feet slowly like an old man, turned into the corner, then sped up. He said softly, "There are too many patrolling police officers and sentries here to kidnap the target quietly without anyone noticing. It'll be best to do it at night. Come back here first. We will discuss the plan," Garion said with a heavy voice. After a few days of taking the shaky civilian train, Han Zio finally arrived in the capital of Maple, the city of Maple Leaf. Following the map, he found a villa at the edge of Maple Leaf. It was a safe house that Darknet had bought with a fake account and identity. Han Zio grabbed the door knocker and thumped to the rhythm of their secret code. The door opened with a squeak, and an old female butler who had more wrinkles than an expired orange invited him in with a plain face. Of the 2 contacts, one was Golden Fox and the other was a young man. Golden Fox hesitated and said, "Black Phantom." Han Zio's eyes brightened. He laughed and said, "Oh, it's you. I've seen you before. You seem to have become prettier." Golden Fox was frightened. She touched her face and said in her head, "Please don't be interested in me, I beg you." The other contact was a young man in his 20s. His code name in the Blood Pact Society was Ghostblade. He was a Scorpion, lowest rank, and a new member who had only joined recently. He was staring at Han Zio with judgment and slight doubt. Ghostblade had been trained as an agent in Raylan, but he had escaped before graduation. Having been trained in an agent training organization, he naturally always felt a sense of superiority toward these underground killers. He had joined the Blood Pact Society around the same time Han Zio did, but Han Zio was already a legend in the organization while he was still struggling in the Scorpion grade. So, he had always been unconvinced. "I heard about your battles. They say you're a legend, but it seems like there's nothing special," Ghostblade said with a plain face. Han Zio glanced at Ghostblade but could not be bothered with him. Golden Fox cut in hurriedly and started talking about the main topic. There are 5 targets: Harry Raymond, Senan Miller, Billy Angus, Dick Van Vancity, Dorasi Farami. They are all government officials who oppose the plan. There are guards around them when they're out and where they live." With a glance to Ghostblade, he snorted, took out a map, and laid it out on the meeting table. "This is the terrain map of the target's villa. The guarding power and the patrolling routes of police nearby are also marked out." The data was very detailed. Ghostblade's ability to collect intelligence was the textbook example that strictly followed the training booklet of Raylan. He had collected almost every detail there was in this mission. With the secret knowledge he had as an agent, Golden Fox did not need to help at all when he was gathering the data. It made him feel superior to these killers. After all, he was a pro, and amateurs were on a different level. "I have designed an action plan for you. You see these red lines and marks. These are the action routes I have planned out. As long as you keep to my plan and don't make any mistakes, you will definitely succeed. I'm assuming you understand what I wrote here. These are special symbols used by agents. If you don't understand them, I can explain for you." "No need, I will look at it myself." "What is the exact mission?" "To place these documents into the target's homes, somewhere obvious that ensures the target sees them. Inside, there are some pieces of evidence that have the ability to cause them harm. As long as they realize that we can put these in their house without anyone noticing, they will know they are not safe. This will act as a threat but not cross the line," Golden Fox said. "I will be infiltrating. What will you guys do? I am only responsible for providing intelligence. Carrying out the mission is your mission as an ace, so don't think about seeking my help," Ghostblade snorted. Golden Fox gave Ghostblade a stare, before saying in a pleasing tone to Han Zio, "If you need me to back you up, I can do it." "Never mind, there's no need for that." Han Zio waved his hands. "It's a pretty easy mission. I can do it alone. It is indeed easy when you follow my plan. Ghostblade nodded lightly. He had actually left out some intelligence in the data. It would not affect the mission, but it would give the person carrying out the mission some slight challenges. He wanted to test out Black Phantom. Hanzio looked at the plan and shook his head. The plan is too complicated. I will do it my way. Ghostblade was unhappy. This plan was made from my careful and precise research of all the intelligence we have, and you came up with a better one within a few minutes of looking at it. This mission is not challenging at all for me, Hanzio said. There will definitely be accidents if he doesn't follow my plan, Ghostblade thought. He had some dark thoughts, and he even wanted to gloat at Black Phantom's failure. To him, not following his plan was basically screwing around. Hanzio walked past quiet streets one after another and arrived at the political area of the city. Patrols on the street became more frequent, so he hid in the shadow of an alley, observed the situation, and waited patiently. About 10 minutes later, a patrolling police officer walked toward him. A pair of arms reached out suddenly and dragged him into darkness. His yelling only lasted a mere second before it stopped. 1 minute later, Hanzio changed into the police uniform with the walkie-talkie at the side of his waist. His face had changed completely. The skin mask had scanned the policeman's face and imitated it perfectly. The strong sleeping medicine was not the normal kind one would find on the market, but a secret recipe made by Golden Fox. She claimed that it could make a 3-meter-tall elephant fall asleep in 10 seconds. As for why she used an elephant to experiment, Hanzio was confused too. Golden Fox had the intention of endearing herself to Hanzio by providing the sleeping medicine. But Hanzio had a feeling that the atmosphere between him and Golden Fox was very weird. Every time their eyes met, it felt like it ignited a spark in the air. Golden Fox would shrink backward like an injured little beast and turn to look at somewhere else, not daring to look Hanzio in the eye. If Hanzio did not remember giving Golden Fox a weird impression back when he was too bored, with Golden Fox acting like a young girl in love, he would have thought she wanted to do something inappropriate to him. However, he knew that she was actually afraid of him. This was the capital of Maple. If he was to be too high profile, he would probably not end up well, so he decided to do an ordinary infiltration like Hitman 47. Wearing the police uniform, Hanzio swaggered toward the villa of the first target, Senan Miller. After making sure the patrols were cleared, Hanzio entered the villa from the window. The bald official was sleeping while hugging his young and beautiful wife in the master bedroom, and there was a maid sleeping in another room. In such a big house, there were only 3 people. Hanzio found his way to the study. 1 target was completed. I shall not delay. There's still some time till Maple finds out someone has sneaked in. I have to speed up. Hanzio infiltrated 3 more targets' villas. The guards were all different from each other, but with his LV-55 senses and intelligence provided by Golden Fox and Ghostblade, together with his skin mask and electromagnetic hover boots, the action was carried out rather smoothly without many hiccups. A small accident happened at the 3rd target. When Hanzio was placing the document in the study, probably due to the target being too old, he woke up quivering and wanted to pass by the study. Hanzio hastily hid behind the floor lamp in the corner. Without looking closely, floor lamps would usually be mistaken as a person and be ignored unconsciously. Although it was a very daring spot to hide, Hanzio thought it was a brilliant idea. However, the result was completely different from what he expected. Having woken up in the middle of the night, wanting to go to the bathroom, already being scared while walking in the dark corridor, the old man passed by the book room and mistook the floor lamp for a person, which made him even more nervous. When he wanted to take a closer look and assure himself that he was just being scared of nothing, he noticed, holy shit, there actually is someone behind the lamp. The target was an elderly man. He covered his chest and fell straight down. You have killed Dick Van Vancity. You have received 1 EXP. The target was scared to death. Deaf, Fouquet. Seriously, Hanzio was completely stunned. I didn't kill anyone. You suffered from myocardial infarction. I'm innocent. Hey, Grandpa, wake up. You still have so much youth to look forward to. How can you die like this? Hanzio shook the old man's shoulders continuously, almost shattering his bones. Accidentally killed the target. What now? Hanzio had a headache. Suddenly, he had a flash of insight. And he had a new idea. Wait a minute. The fundamental purpose of this mission is to reduce the number of officials that are opposing the project. If they all die, there will be nobody opposing. Bennett, who was far away at southern continent, suddenly sneezed. He had a bad premonition. Someone attacked the convoy. The driver of Darassi's car yelled as he hastily stepped on the throttle, wanting to escape with speed. But a few rounds of bullets shot out from the dark and busted the wheels. The car swirled and stopped at the side of the road. Vernina appeared, holding a grenade launcher. The wrinkles at the side of her eyes showed she was not very young, but her appearance still had the signs of her beauty when she was younger. Every move she made played the rhyme of a mature lady. Darasi walked out of the car. He remained calm and looked at the struggling guards on the floor. "Who are you people?" Vernina slowly walked toward Darasi while taking out her handgun and killing the guards on the way. "There's still an alive one." Vernina turned around and fired at Hanzio without changing her expression. Hanzio had a horrible expression on his face when saw the information on the interface. The enemy was called Vernina. She was an astonishing LV-60 cannon master, which was the limit of version 1.0, someone who was at the top of the pyramid on planet Aquamarine. This was the second person after Bennett on planet Aquamarine that was at the maximum level. But she didn't have as many molding abilities as Bennett. Vernina, the name sounds familiar, Hanzio thought. For such a high-level person to attack an official of Maple, there was definitely some hidden agenda. Hanzio was involved by accident, but he did not want to be meddlesome, so he admitted his unluckiness. Just as Hanzio turned around, wanting to leave the place with his hover boots, Vernina fired again. Hanzio turned around and dashed toward Vernina. He pulled out the retractable knife and dished out a quick stab. The electromagnetic hover boots were at full power, so the speed of his dash was like a bullet. Vernina hastily held up her grenade launcher as a shield. Screech! The dark black blade penetrated the grenade launcher. Hanzio's hands let go of the blade, and he launched his fist toward Vernina's temple. She hastily raised her arms to block. As the fist and her arm clashed, she felt an irresistible force of strength that hit her head across her bones. She then felt pain on her lower abdomen as Hanzio kicked it. Having been hit 2 times consecutively, Vernina was extremely shocked. She had thought that this agent was just a fish that slipped through the net, but it turned out to be an enormous shark. She was a legend in the old era, and now she was suppressed by an enemy that she had never heard about. The intelligence showed that the guards of Darasi were all normal civilians, so she never could have guessed that one of them had been replaced with Hanzio. She was truly unlucky. Hanzio did not intend to engage in a shootout. He did not bring sniper for this mission, only 2 Berserk Eagles and some small machines. Thus, he chose close-range combat by using hover boots to close their difference in swiftness and then suppress the opponent with his strength. The dexterity of Vernina was high, but Hanzio had an advantage in strength. Also, fighting Vernina at a close range would make the sniper cautious and hesitant to shoot. Hanzio was at an advantage because of his strength. He would never hold back because of the opponent's identity, gender, or age, so Vernina was at quite a disadvantage. Both of their physical abilities exceeded normal people. A swing of their hands was more than enough to break apart bricks and penetrate through iron plates. The environment around them was destroyed, and the ground became full of pits. There was even an overturned car that Hanzio had kicked away toward the tree. It was a mess. Darasi stood by the side, not daring to escape because of the sniper. Darasi felt stupid. He had no idea there was such a strong superhuman hiding in his guards. Was this a secret arrangement of the secret services? But such a strong person would have been more than enough to even protect the highest ranked officials. Since when had he been treated even better than them? Hanzio was like gangrene. Vernina could not distance herself away at all, and she became more anxious as time passed. This agent is way too strong. Their backup will arrive soon. I'm stalled. Hans, quickly help me. He is too close to you, and you're moving at a very high speed. There's a 50% chance I will hit you instead, Hans said. Vernina felt troubled. It was originally an easy mission, but with Hanzio appearing, all the plans were ruined. The intelligence clearly showed Darasi's guards to be normal people. Where did this guy jump out of? Hans quickly came to a decision. Retreat. It was at this time that the police sirens sounded. Police vehicles and the Special Operations Unit closed in at high speed, and the sound of rotors appeared in the sky. 2 helicopters were circling above. The place was surrounded from every direction. The people of Maple fired continuously. She was very agile, so she avoided the attacks by repeatedly sidestepping and found a safe route within the concentrated barrage. Even when she was hit, it only caused her single-digit damage. The damage from normal people using normal firearms posed next to no threat to her. As Hanzio saw Vernina was about to escape the encirclement, he snatched a heavy sniper from one of the Special Operations soldiers, activated, and hit Vernina's shoulder. Blood splashed. Her footsteps stumbled. Then she sped up again and disappeared in the darkness, leaving blood stains on the ground. The majority of the team chased in their vehicles. Hanzio threw the gun away, feeling much better. There was no benefit in chasing. Injuring the opponent was enough, and he could not kill her anyway. I'm on their side in Maple's people's eyes for now. but if I escape now, they might chase me too. Dorasi came forward. Good job, you saved me. Hanzio secretly observed Dorasi, thinking, what secret does this old government official have that interests two people that are LV60? After Dorasi showed his appreciation, he looked at Colonel Danny with a straight face and said, what was the identity of the attackers? We are still checking. Oh, they have found it. Colonel Danny took the laptop from his assistant, but he was stunned with only one look. Vernina, former Raylan agent, currently decommissioned. She was once very active in the battlefields of the old era, was one of the shining legends of that era. Today was her first appearance in decades, and her threat level is determined to be the highest. Oh, I remember now. Hanzio had a flash of light in his mind. He now remembered where Vernina and Hans had appeared. It was in the middle of version 1.0 when players came into contact with these two names. They appeared in a form of something more like an Easter egg. In the biggest refugee camp created by Bennett in Hanzio's previous life, there was a small hill that had 3 graves on it. 2 of them belonged to these 2 people. When players came into contact with them, they were already dead. Bennett would sometimes stop in front of the 3 graves, and if someone were to ask him about it, he would sigh and say he had buried his friends and comrades, all respectable people. Players only knew these 3 people were old friends of Bennett from what he said and nothing else. Some players had tried triggering a mission, but it did not result in anything. Apparently, it was just an Easter egg. But now, the 2 people in the grave were still alive. 2 of the strongest people at LV60 from the same era of Bennett. Why were they against a Maple government official? In the original storyline, how and what did they die for? Who killed them? Colonel Danny looked up at Hanzio with suspicion. This person that he had never heard before had chased away a legend of an era. He was stronger than he had thought. There was such a scary guy hidden in Secret Service, and the military had not noticed. We'll have to investigate thoroughly, Colonel Danny thought. With such thoughts in his mind, Colonel Danny commanded the people to clean the battlefield, and within a short moment, Hanzio disappeared from under his nose. Vernina sat bare top on the chair with her front facing the back of the chair. Hans was behind her, dealing with the wounds on her shoulder. To the side were cotton balls drenched with blood. Hans finally took out the bullet that was stuck in the muscles and threw it into the metal plate. The pain made Vernina frown a little. She sighed and said, such a shame. Can't believe I failed such an easy mission. Hans continued sewing the wounds without facing up and said, Garion's information had errors. It's all his fault. Garion threw the laptop on the table as he heard what Hans said. The screen showed the files on the Secret Service agents around Dorasi. Bullshit. This is intelligence I got from the database of Maple through very difficult and tiresome hacking. That strong opponent is called Anguston. Look clearly at his history. He is a totally normal person. Wait, I have new information. The person we fought was a fake. He did not belong to Maple at all. Who was it? Hans was surprised. Seems like it's from the Darknet, Garion said as he typed on the keyboard and hacked for intelligence. Darknet. Only Bennett and 2 other old guys are that strong, but it wasn't them. There's new blood in Darknet. It has been quite some time since I paid attention to the data from the underground. Vernina was slightly shocked. She touched her shoulder and said, he also left a bullet hole in me. He is really not easily messed with. We have no conflict of interest with him. We just met him unluckily, Garion said. And we met a strong one. Bennett has found a treasure. The fastest way is to ask. Hans took out his phone, selecting Bennett's number. The call went through. Hans, didn't expect you to call me. Didn't you retire already? Bennett's voice appeared. Garion said that there was something important that he needed my help for, and I owed him a favor. Never mind that. I have something to ask you. Did you send someone to Maple? Hans then explained what had happened. Bennett didn't know to laugh or to cry. Such a coincidence. I don't know whether it's him being lucky or you guys being unlucky. Who is he? Bennett stopped talking for a second, then laughed and said, are you looking for trouble? I suggest you don't mess with him. He might kill you. Since he's one of your people, I want him to help us do something, Hans said. Bennett rejected and said, Black Phantom is not my subordinate, and I cannot command him. The most I can do is help you ask, but it still depends on his response. Hans pondered and said, all right, I would like to talk to him myself. That can be done. The call ended. As the sun began to rise, Hanzio returned to the Darknet safe house. Golden Fox and Ghost Blade had been awake for the whole night. Seeing him return, Golden Fox breathed a sigh of relief. Is the mission completed? Ghost Blade questioned. Did you follow my plan? Your plan wouldn't work. Hanzio shook his head and briefly described the challenges he faced during the infiltration. Ghost Blade's intelligence had missed out some details, and these were very important details. After what Han Zio said, Ghost Blade noticed there were errors and flaws to the intelligence that he had collected, despite him thinking it was as detailed as it could be. Golden Fox licked her bright, tender lips, and her emotions were complicated. The first time she saw Black Phantom was in the Manor Defending mission a few months ago. Black Phantom had just been a scorpion back then. His rank had been even lower than hers. But in a few months, she was still in the same place, while Black Phantom had climbed up in a short time to be an ace of the Blood Pact Society as well as made a connection with the superiors of Darknet. Golden Fox envied Black Phantom's position, but she knew she did not have what it took. If she could sacrifice her body to have Black Phantom back her up, she would definitely do it. But it was too bad that Han Zio had no interest in her. As he was getting ready to leave, his phone rang. It was Bennett. Han Zio picked up the phone. "I have completed your request. There were some small accidents along the way, but I was overall stable. I knew you wouldn't fail. I have something else for you," Bennett said. "The enemy you met in the middle of the mission was actually my friend. You might have heard of them before, Hans and Vernina. They are from my era." Han Zio acted surprised. "Oh, what a coincidence. It's surprising that you didn't lose. You were much weaker when I first met you," Bennett said in awe. "The speed you're improving at has surpassed my knowledge. Are you calling just to compliment me?" Han Zio said. "Go on, don't stop. I can still endure it." With twitching lips, Bennett took a deep breath and calmed his emotions. "Hans has asked me to tell you that he wants your help. Regarding the conflict earlier, it was just a misunderstanding. Wants my help." Han Zio's eyes twinkled. "I could help them, but I need to know the details." Han Zio thought for a second and added, "Since they are your friends, they are my friends too. Don't worry about that small conflict." This sentence made Bennett feel very good. He laughed in a very reserved way, but he could not hide the fact that he was feeling comfortable all over. Since Han Zio had given him so much respect, he would return the favor. "Count it as me owing you a favor." Seems like I owe you quite a few favors already." After waiting for a while, Bennett transferred Han's call. "Ka-chin." They both kept silent after the call was connected. They could only hear the sound of each other breathing. In the end, Hans spoke first. "I'm Hans, we have met last night. Bennett had told me. Heard you need my help. What's it about?" Han Zio got straight to the point. "It's regarding a secret that was buried in history. We have found some traces of it, and I want to find out about this secret." Han Zio was very confused. He had no idea what secret he was talking about. However, a notification showed up on the interface. Han Zio could not move his eyes away from it the moment he saw it. He was completely shocked. "You have triggered Planet Aquamarine's hidden main storyline Grade A mission. Remarks: This mission will cause unknown and irreversible effects to some events and organizations." Han Zio's eye immediately widened. A main storyline mission that no one ever triggered. There were 3 main storylines in Planet Aquamarine. 2 of them were the war between the 6 nations and Germinal organization and the creation of the refugee camp. And another hidden main storyline was triggered by the players. But it was not it. He had completely no recollection of it, which meant this mission had not been triggered by the players in his previous life. The first time Hans and the guys appeared before the players, they were already dead. No wonder no one triggered it. Han Zio suddenly realized how dangerous this mission was. Even 2 people at the maximum level for Planet Aquamarine had died. It would probably be much more difficult than he thought. Han Zio's Grade A mission against Germinal organization was a branch of the main storyline mission. Han Zio felt an itch in his bones. It was the feeling of excitement and anticipation. He was an extremely long-term player that loved to dig the important factors in Galaxy, and this was a secret that no player had found out about. Except, you have accepted. +10 relationship with Hans, Vernina, Garion, and Zhang Yuan. Han Zio noticed something. He knew that Zhang Yuan was the last person buried in the grave. But who was this Garion? There are many secrets in the nation of Maple. When you infiltrated the government officials' mansions, did you feel weird that these officials were protected around the clock? But this doesn't happen in other nations. Han Zio nodded. "I know about this, the Ulrich assault from many years ago." "Yes, Ulrich assault." Hans described the event in detail. Ulrich's position in Maple at that time was similar to a prime minister. He had been attacked at home, not by a few people, but a large group of civilians who somehow had weapons from an unknown supplier. They used gunpowder weapons and burned Ulrich's expensive mansion to the ground. Ulrich, his wife, and their 3 children aged around 10 years old were brutally slaughtered by the attackers. The entire process was recorded and uploaded online. It shocked the nation and even the entire world. The reason for this was that Ulrich approved a policy that was basically to remove power and citizen benefits from the civilians and to use it as an investment of a ridiculous project, which was actually a way for Ulrich to put money into his own pocket. Corruption of the government officials in Maple was known throughout the world. But before the War of the Old Era had broken out, Maple had been known for their gentle government. They were normal and not a strong nation. When the Old Era War broke out, the government implemented policies that were very pressurizing for the civilians. Most people showed understanding and accepted the policies under pressure, and some even actively contributed. The government officials of Maple had tasted the delicious fruit of evil. After the war ended, because of the pressure from the nation losing power after the war, they did not go back to the old easygoing policies. Instead, they continued to pressure the civilians with tax and labor, which was used to recover the nation's power. Conflicts within the country became worse as time passed by. The gentle society environment disappeared and never returned. People who were not living the life they wanted were like a spring that was pressed to its limit. The policy Ulrich approved was the last straw. Then, half an hour after Ulrich was attacked, the special force received a command to kill everyone who took part in the attack. They showed no mercy. The nation was shocked, and this signified as the opening of the change of times in Maple. This mission seems rather complicated. Han Zio stopped asking questions. He considered for a while and decided to join them. No matter what reason they were doing this for, this was a very rare hidden mission, so it would be a waste to reject it. What do I need to do? Han Zio asked. The three people looked at each other. Garion took out a deck of documents and said, "The evidence is within the intelligence of the past few years. I spent a long time finding a lead. It is very cumbersome, so we need to divide our labor." As Han Zio browsed the documents, his expression finally changed. This mission is a series of chain missions. You can complete the targets below. Ending of the Survivor. In the Blade City of Raylan, find a guy called Old Devon and get the incomplete copy of The Key of Misplacement. In the capital ruins of the West Mountain Nation within the southern continent, find a misplaced important item. This was the end result of West Mountain Nation's last research before they were destroyed. Sealed past. Control the warlord, Verna, of the Verna colony on the western continent. His father was a high-ranked military officer of a dead country. There are hidden clues. Follow Verna and find the secret. Mysterious prisoner. Decades ago, an intelligence agent of Stardragon was imprisoned by a country. That country is already dead, but the intelligence agent was kept in a secret prison that had no guards. No one has found him. Find him or his relics. Same type of person. A loner who has secluded himself in the wilderness has some very important information. Intelligence shows that he appeared near the Tribute Valley in the western continent. Be careful, he is not a normal person. He was active on the battlefield of the Old Era. It is recommended you engage the contact with friendliness. This is the first round of the mission. As long as one of the missions are completed, the mission can be concluded. The amount and completion status of the missions will determine the mission requirements of the next round. Reward of the first round, 350,000 experience. Bonus rewards given as per evaluation of the missions. Han Zio raised his brows. The freedom of this kind of mission was very high, similar to the series missions of an organization. But this main storyline was clearly more cumbersome, and it was a chain mission. Han Zio tightened his brows, feeling a little distressed. I will try it. No matter what, he needed to accept it first. Garion nodded. I will count on you for these missions. The three of us have other missions. Hans and the rest were all very strong characters from the Old Era, so their mission was definitely not simple. The players in the novice villages of the western continent were still waiting for his arrival. The forum had exploded. The players that were waiting for Han Zio panicked and were worried that he would not be coming anymore. They started being superstitious and spammed posts in the forum to pray for Han Zio's arrival. The posts reached the astonishing number of 300,000. It was so terrifying that Han Zio was worried that he might be buried in the sea of players. Some of the players started to play with memes. Youngster, did you drop this black phantom, this white phantom, or this yellow phantom? You're an honest child. To reward you, you can exchange your money to learn skills. SHHH, look at what I found. There's a black phantom that is different from the others. We can try to capture it. One black phantom could provide us with energy for many days, but it is not easy to deal with. We have to quietly close in from its back. I've been discovered. Help, it wants to eat me. Run, Calvin. Black Phantom used Death Stare. It was super effective. Finally, after tens of thousands of summons, the great mechanic Hanzio arrived at a novice village. The players waiting for Hanzio there were countless, much more than any other novice village. The moment he appeared, players rushed over like an avalanche. People who did not know might even have mistaken them for a locust plague. Hanzio taught abilities as usual, and the players came swarming. Gaining experience points in Novice Village was also a way of relaxation for him, so he had time to browse the forums. On the forums, the popularity of Inhuman Phenomenon was over the top, and not only on planet Aquamarine. Similar situations had occurred on other planets too, and players received different treatments. On the Wizard planet, they were researched by the witches and were discovered to have a very high talent for sorcery, which was in fact the learning ability on the player interface. They then shockingly joined various sorcery academies. On the Ancient planet, they were seen as messengers of God and worshipped. The planets above were all very lucky, but planet Aquamarine was one of the unluckiest planets. NPCs were very fearful toward the players. The players were captured, experimented on, sliced to pieces, and brainwashed. They were treated like slaves. Players being filled with hatred was a certain, and with the situation on planet Aquamarine, the players had new speculations. Black Phantom was probably a compensation from the game company and producers. No wonder. That's why a character like Black Phantom only exists on our planet. The Inhuman Phenomenon also led to another change. The players developed a hobby of teasing the NPCs. They became very curious and asked a lot of questions, and they liked to do things that were out of the line, wanting to see the reaction from the NPCs. Players had a lot of fun, but to NPCs, they were acting extremely weird. All the organizations did one thing at the same time. They added one line to the Inhuman documents. Most Inhumans have a mental illness. Their actions are very random, and they might do anything. The Inhumans have gender, but they do not have genitals and reproductive abilities. The game did not allow players to get naked, and from the NPC's perspective, it was like their underwear was part of their body, which was very incomprehensible. Hanzio was laughing uncontrollably. He could imagine how the organizations found out about this. Some players had the thought of teasing Black Phantom. Since Black Phantom was the guider of new players, would he also be shocked like the other NPCs? Teasing an NPC was a fun thing to do. Black Phantom, your name is Hanzio. You served Star Dragon before, and you are now a member of the Dark Net, am I right? A player named Flying Naughty Prawn suddenly said. He had seen the video from Bun Hit Dog and had an interesting idea. He wanted to expose Black Phantom's identity right in front of him and see what would happen. There was no way for Black Phantom to know that his identity was exposed. When he saw a stranger stating his true identity, would he be shocked and lose his cool? Flying Naughty Prawn was staring at Hanzio while snickering. Flying Naughty Prawn was confused. It did not go as he imagined. How is Black Phantom so calm now that his identity has been exposed? Does Black Phantom not care about strangers knowing his identity at all? Or is Black Phantom's identity actually not a secret at all in areas that players don't know about? Flying Naughty Prawn did not give up. He continued to look for trouble and asked again, I want to join the Germinal organization. Do you know how can I do that? Everyone knew that Black Phantom was against the Germinal organization. Thus, he asked that on purpose. Yuo, are you provoking me, youngster? Hanzio immediately deducted 3 relationship points as punishment. Flying Naughty Prawn's face turned green. Isn't this reaction too straightforward? That was completely unexpected. Hanzio suddenly had a new idea. With the influence he had on players, maybe he could guide them on choosing a side to join. So, he paused and said, a war is going to break out. The 6 nations will come together for an expedition. The Germinal organization will certainly lose. If you want to commit suicide, do as you wish. If you want to join the Dark Net, I can write a referral letter for you. Hanzio's words would very soon be sent to the forums, and those who were planning to join the Germinal organization might also change their mind. He did not want to give up on any chances to harm the Germinal organization. He had not bothered them for a while, and they seemed to be having a rather peaceful time. Unacceptable. Players noticed a keyword in Hanzio's words. He said the Dark Net. That's a hidden organization, isn't it? Price, 250,000 Aquamarine dollars. 250,000. The crowd was stunned. This was a sky-high price for them. With such a high price, normal players would not be able to afford, but Hanzio was not planning to sell a large quantity. He was targeting the pro players from sports clubs who could afford the price with the backing of their guild. Pro players were the ones who were most willing to become stronger by any means necessary. This strategy would attract pro players, which was beneficial for him in expanding his group of spare tires. 250,000 aquamarine dollars was a price that none of the guilds could afford at the time, but they were rich and could use real money to purchase aquamarine dollars from other players. Now, let's see how many guilds will realize the benefits of joining a hidden new organization. He was now Fisherman Han, waiting for people who were willing to bite the bait. I triggered the mission to join the Blood Pact Society. It is very cumbersome and difficult. The introduction of it is that it's a killer association, and the benefits are still unknown. However, to me, it's not worth it to spend 250,000 just to skip the prior missions. The average value of a player at the time was about 3,000 to 5,000, so it was not difficult for guilds to gather 250,000 since the number of players was increasing continuously. Although guilds could come up with 250,000, it was quite a risk for them. If the referral letter did not have a good effect, it would slow their progress down by a huge portion. The price that he had set for the time being was too high, and the risk of buying the referral letter would only decrease when the average asset level of the players increased. A surprise notification appeared on the interface. Completed. Requirement 1. Find the source of the plague. Completed. Requirement 2. Suppress the spread of the plague. Completed. Requirement 3. Cure all the people who are infected. Incomplete. You received 60,000 experience, plus 400 relationship with the Black Pine Colony. Han Zio stood in place with surprise. This mission was what he had given to Frenzied Sword and Bun Hit Dog. They had completed it. It seems I chose well. Wait a minute. Han Zio's eyes sparkled. He was inspired and had another idea of promoting the referral letter. Nice one, Frenzied Sword. Han Zio laughed. It was just the right time for the mission to be completed. It had inspired him at a crucial moment. At this time, the players in the novice village were learning one by one and were swinging at the price of the referral letter. The flow of time carried everyone forward. The truth of the past has been buried and forgotten by the people who never stopped. Han Zio suddenly yelled, I need a number of trustworthy people to help me with some things. As he was speaking, he distributed the 5 hidden main storyline missions from that he had just received into new missions, and was too cumbersome, and it would waste a lot of time if Han Zio did them himself. Furthermore, it was only the first round. Han Zio decided to distribute the targets of the missions and let the players do it. This way, he could save time and get the rewards without doing much. The success of Frenzied Sword proved the idea, and he found out that he could still get the rewards even if the players completed the mission. Just like the evil capitalists who used benefits to attract others to work for them but still ended up earning the most. The players saw the mission and froze in place. Then they became overjoyed. Main storyline mission. God, this is another main storyline. The rewards are plenty. Quick, accept the mission. However, the players noticed that the mission was in gray color, which meant that it could not be accepted. Why can't I accept the mission? Why? The confusion was solved within a short period. They soon realized that the missions had a prior requirement. Buying the referral letter. That's too greedy. The players turned furious. How are they going to play 250,000? Who the hell could afford that? Seeing the expression of the players, Han Zio smiled secretly. Because of the quota, his main storyline mission could only be given to a limited number of players. Thus, he had to target the elites, so he had decided to attract the pro players. Pro players had large guilds behind them, and it was perfect for promoting the referral letter and making bundle sales. You want the main storyline mission? Okay, buy my referral letter. Don't want to spend money? Then why do you deserve to become stronger? Pro players were willing to grow through any means. They would never give up the main storyline missions. Another reason Han Zio was doing this was that there was a chance for the normal players to fail the mission, which would result in him also failing the missions. However, pro players had higher skills on average, and they had guilds behind them who would help them with the mission. Clearly, they were more reliable. Those that were rare were those that were treasured. This is a good strategy. It's killing two many birds with one stone. Han Zio was satisfied. Han Zio was about done with harvesting the players in this novice village. He smugly counted the experience. He had gotten a huge amount yet again. However, nobody had bought the referral letter so far, but Fisherman Han was patient. Him giving out main storyline missions had already made a storm on the forums. Sooner or later, someone would come. Two players walked toward Han Zio next to each other. Their IDs were Wind Chaser and Dragon Tail, which attracted the attention of other players. They were rather famous players of the Nine Gates Guild and the Fanatics Guild. Han Zio's eye twinkled. The highly skilled players have finally come. Black Phantom, we want to buy the referral letter, Wind Chaser said. Sure. Wind Chaser and Dragon Tail had received the funds from the guild of their clubs. A team was the face of a club, so as pro players, they were treated well. They took out 250,000 each. The players around looked at them with envy. He received 500,000 in one shot, then wrote the referral letters on the spot and gave them to the two pro players. He told them the location of a darknet stronghold in the Western continent, and said, take my letter there, and you can join the Blood Pact Society. He paused and then said, seems like I can trust you. I have some tasks here. Would you like to help me? That's what I've been waiting for. Dragon Tail immediately accepted the mission. He wanted to accept one after another but was notified that only one mission could be accepted. This had been set by Han Zio, one referral letter for one mission. Shit, only one mission can be accepted. I thought I could accept all of them. Dragon Tail was unhappy. If you can complete the mission, there might be more things you can help me with. Han Zio hinted that in order to unlock his hidden storyline, first they had to complete this mission. Pro players were always in a rush. They left immediately after accepting the mission. 5 mission targets, 2 in the Western continent, 2 in the Northern continent, and 1 in the Southern continent. He had to make sure they were all accepted by someone. Fortunately for him, all these continents were part of his schedule. Although the main storyline mission was a grade, this was the easiest first round. New episode of Galaxy Times, titled, Creation of the Professional League. Han Zio felt wide awake. He had always paid a lot of attention to this show, so he clicked in immediately. Recently, an event has raised wide discussion among the players. The NPCs in the game have expressed extreme curiosity over the unique characteristics of players. Every planet has witnessed different reactions and labeled this phenomenon differently, such as Chosen Ones, Inhumans, Genius Phenomenon, which was very exciting and surprising. It's like NPCs have their individual minds and are not as rigid as NPCs in other games. If every NPC has an individual mind of their own, the amount of computation needed will be extremely high. But Galaxy is using the latest light-speed computers. Its limit is unknown, the female host said. I think this is part of the game's plot, to give the players a feeling that it is real. When I was playing, I kept having the misconceptions that I was in a real world, and I think that is what the developers want us to experience. As a unique character in a real world, everything that occurs required improvisation, and there will almost never be any repeated events. It's all new and exciting. I have high hopes for what Galaxy can achieve in the future. Talking about the future of the game, the male host said, our channel has received first-hand news that the International Sports Association has confirmed that they will be hosting the first ever Pro League, and they have also informed the countries to host competitions. What is your view on this? I would say that it means I have yet to lose my job. YG laughed. Pro Leagues are going to start soon. All the clubs will be preparing themselves and not wasting any time. My customers should be increasing. YG, a god-tiered player that ranked second in China, someone whose status was so much higher than Han Zio in his previous life that Han Zio was not even qualified enough to be in contact with him, had said that he would come to find him. But now, Han Zio had the power to choose if he wanted him to be one of his spare tires. A piercing cold wind blew across the wasteland with thin snow. Together with the ground, they created a view filled with gray and white. In a wasteland on the northern continent, a player with an animal skin coat slowing trekked across in the cold wind. On the horizon behind him was the novice village that he had left from. With blood scabs on his fists, 7 dead frost wolf bodies lay 100 meters behind him. Frost wolves were a common predator in the northern continent. The ID above the player's head was Hao Tian, which was clearly an old ID. Hao Tian, a famous pro player, a pillar of the Long Sky Club, and a veteran in the pro scene, had used this ID for many years. There were many esports clubs in China, but only a few were considered top tier, such as Guild of Gods, Long Sky, Dynasty, Fried Eggplants with Fish. Yes, that club was called Fried Eggplants with Fish, and their mortal enemy was the Kimchi Club in Korea. Hao Tian suddenly received a ranged communication request from Lai Ji, so he stopped and accepted. This greeting clearly conveyed the fact that Hao Tian did not like to talk too much. Have you heard that the Esports Association has confirmed the creation of Galaxy Pro competitions? YG asked. Oh, what class did you change to? Pugilist. I'm an Esper, YG said. Level up quickly. The situation of the Chinese players is not looking good. I need help from people to fight top clubs from other countries. Speak for yourself. Hao Tian did not give face at all, and he hung up. Hao Tian had been in the pro scene for many years. He had steadily trained and climbed up to where he was. He did not like to talk, did not like to manage public image. All he did was shine in the competitions. Lai Ji was very passionate about managing his image. He often went to shows, so he had countless more fans than Hao Tian. Plus, he was handsome, so he had many female fans. He opened the forum as was his habit, then saw the posts about Black Phantom giving out main storyline missions. He suddenly stopped walking and turned back around toward the novice village. With Hao Tian's skill, a novice village was already useless to him. But for the missions of Black Phantom, he was willing to wait. In the basement of the Dragon Horn building, the headquarters of Division 13. The corridor toward the central computer room was dark and metallic, with infrared detectors in the walls all along the corridor. The ground was equipped with devices that recognized and recorded weight and footprints. Gu Hui typed the password at the door, then had his eyeball, fingerprint, and voice scanned. All the security devices were turned off. The path was clear, and Gu Hui walked into the spacious center computer control room with a serious expression. He was carrying out the order of the highest-ranked superiors. Inquire about the inhuman phenomenon from the galactic civilization far away in the universe. Godara. Gu Hui turned on the central terminal and typed a series of long passwords to unlock the encryption. He then opened the deepest layer of the program and typed another string of secret passwords, activating a secret program. Human from planet Aquamarine, why did you request communication? Gu Hui revised what he had planned to say before typing it out word by word. My friend from Godara, I'm the person in charge of the intelligence organization of Stardragon on planet Aquamarine. I have requested the communication due to an abnormal phenomenon on our planet. We call it the inhuman phenomenon. The details are as below. Gu Hui explained their research on the Inhumans briefly, and sent the documents and records over. Then he ended his message with a brief plea for assistance. As our technology is unable to find the reason behind this, we hoped you could help us to solve it. If you can provide assistance with this, we will give you our sincerest appreciation. Godara and Stardragon will forever be close friends. After a few seconds, the person from Godara replied, there are many technologies that can achieve this effect. It also might be a natural occurrence. There are far more weird events in the universe, so don't have to be so surprised. Tens of thousands of species die and come to life every second. We would have to research on it ourselves to know the exact cause. That is what we are hoping for. Gu Hui wrote back, for you to send someone here to do field research. Request authorized. Current date, the 10th of August 688 Galaxy Time. Mission has been submitted into the schedule. ETA the 7th of May 689. Gu Hui turned off the communication with a sigh. Have to wait 1 year. Who knows how the inhuman phenomenon will turn into after 1 year. Gu Hui shook his head. The military boots stepped on the metal floor. Hila walked in the corridor full of twists and turns with an expressionless face. She did not even hesitate at the intersections. She was too familiar with this place where Aurora was locked up. At the end of the deep corridor, a thick, metal gate blocked Hila's path. 2 guards stood in front of the metal gate and stopped Hila. I have authorization. Hila's tone was cold. The guards turned around and tapped a few times on the control panel, made sure that Hila had received one-time authorization from their leader, and nodded. You have 1 hour. He opened the metal gate. Light shone from within and brightened the exquisite but ice-cold face of Hila. A pure white room came into her sight. It was very simple. 1 bed, 1 table, 1 chair, 1 toilet, and 1 bookshelf full of books. In a bed as pure as the feathers of an angle, a tiny, scrawny body cowered. Hila walked forward inattentively and stopped 5 meters outside the room. She reached out and pressed against the glass that surrounded the room. She clenched her fist so hard that her bones started to turn white. Sis, the blanket started moving. Aurora lifted the blanket and stumbled toward the glass. Her steps were weak and powerless. She was only as tall as Hila's shoulders and so skinny that she looked like she only had her skeleton left. The exposed arms from her patient's suit were full of needle scars. Aurora pounced toward the glass with happiness. You've come to see me. Hila hastily extended her hands and pressed against Aurora's palms across the glass. She endured the lump in her throat and softly asked, recently, have you been alright? The people in white lab coats have not come as often. The last injection was 13 days ago already. Aurora's large eyes blinked, and she showed a faint smile. Gila smiled reluctantly. She looked at the needle scars on Aurora's body, and it felt like her heart was being stabbed rapidly. She knew why they drew blood from her fewer times. It was because Aurora recovered slower. Every time her blood and bone marrow was extracted, she needed more time to recover. Her ability allowed her to feel one's life force. The life force of Aurora, which had once been as bright as the sun, was now a candlelight that might extinguish anytime. Her life force was withering. "Tell me stories, elder sister. I want to hear the last one that you didn't finish." Gila sat down too and leaned on the glass. "Where did we stop at last time?" she whispered. Aurora tilted her head and thought about it. The uncle called Zero escaped from the base. What happened next? Did Sis fight with him? After a moment's thought, Gila continued the story with a soft and gentle tone. In the office of the leader of the Germinal organization, the inhuman phenomenon has attracted the attention of the 6 nations, but it won't last for long. At least the Inhumans made some time for us to recover. Be prepared. The enemy may invade Andrea any time. About Zero. If he really has the power to predict the future, we have to get rid of him before the war. Otherwise, all of our strategic deployments and planning will be exposed. He's like a rat in the sewers, hiding too deep. The leader fiddled with his fingers before coming to a decision. Activate Destiny's Child. Find his position. The secret room was deeply hidden. The leader walked to the gate and entered the password. The metal gate slid open to the side. Only the leader could open this gate. Inside was a hibernation pod with a man wearing a metal muzzle in it, and the nutritional liquid injections were all that was keeping his body alive. The leader controlled the hibernation pod to inject a drug that would wake the person inside. The door opened up, and the man slowly opened his eyes. He was extremely calm. His eyes had no signs of life, and he did not seem to care if he was asleep or awake. The Germinal organization called this man Destiny's Child. He had some ability to affect the future with his words, but the Germinal organization did not know many of the details. Destiny's Child looked at the pages without even changing the focus of his pupils. Make him appear. Destiny's Child closed his eye for 5 minutes. When he opened them again, he said slowly with a hoarse voice, "He will come here himself." The leader's breath paused for a second and demanded, "When?" Not too long. Destiny's Child's ability did not work every time. The smaller the request, the more likely it was to succeed. The leader put the metal mask back on Destiny's Child and pushed him back into the hibernation pod. Han Zhao opened the interface and counted his earnings. In the more than 10 days that he had stayed in the Western continent, he had robbed a large number of drugs, one of which had an unknown effect but could potentially be a very valuable semi-finished drug. He had also built many relationships with Theon, 2 superheroes that he had no idea of what use they would provide, Hans, and others. Furthermore, he had managed to trigger the hidden main storyline. He also built the mechanical suit, Viper. Viper could increase both his strength and dexterity drastically, which made up for the mechanic's weaknesses in these 2 attributes in the early stages. He already had 20 million EXP saved up. Thus, the accumulated experience on the interface totaled to 140 million. Han Zhao felt content as he looked at the long string of zeros. Without even looking at the experience points they needed, he maxed the level of each of those abilities. That's the feeling of being rich. Your accurate shooting and sniping are both at LV5. You learned. Your grappling and special combat are both at LV5. You learned. You have received talent. Han Zhao had unlocked 2 new abilities and 3 new talents. Without hesitation, Han Zhao leveled up all the new abilities to the max as well. Han Zhao contemplated for some time and decided to fuse blueprints first to have more choices. With more than 100 million EXP, he could splurge on fusing basic knowledge. After continuously infusing tens of times and spending millions of experience points, Han Zhao received tens of new blueprints that spread across various types with different uses. He carefully picked 3 pieces of machinery for the class change mission. Not only did these 3 suit the requirements, but Han Zhao also felt they would be useful to him. Compounded magnetic chain split blades was a weapon that was similar to the magnetically controlled retractable armor. Iron Fist mounted heavy mechanical arm was a type of mechanical arm. Different from the lightweight mechanical arm, the size of it was very huge. It was many times bigger than his arms. Its power source was the built-in motor and engine. Many maneuvering equipment looked like a belt. It could shoot out bursts of air that allowed the user to jump mid-air, and its fuel was very expensive. There was a fitting device built in so that it would not fly off without the user. There's not enough materials on the plane. Han Zhao looked at his inventory. He had not restocked in the Western continent. As he was keeping himself busy in the plane, it flew at a constant speed toward their destination, the Northern continent. He arrived at the first novice village in the northern continent very soon and was greeted with warm welcomes. The players in the northern continent had been waiting for him for a long time. They had been reading about the players in the western continent showing off every day with envy and anticipation. It was finally their turn to show off. Hanzio stood in place, and the players queued to give him money and experience points with smiles on their faces. The numbers on the interface kept growing. Suddenly, a commotion broke out among the crowd. Hao Tian walked out of the crowd as the players around him stepped aside. "I want to buy the referral letter," Hao Tian said. Hanzio looked up. He recognized Hao Tian, a pro player who had around the same level of skill as Lai Ji. Hao Tian gave the money and took the referral letter, keeping an emotionless expression throughout. He took the mission and left without wasting any time. At this time, Hanzio heard the conversation between the surrounding players. "Didn't Hao Tian finish all the missions in Novice Village? I thought he left 2 days ago." "No, I saw him come back with my own eyes. He stayed till today, probably waiting for the mission from Black Phantom. It's not worth wasting 2 days for a pro player. I would wait 10 days if I could get the mission from Black Phantom." Hanzio's eye twinkled. Hao Tian seems like quite a good choice. In the woods 100 meters away from the Frost Pine Village, a dozen or so people who were all wearing combat suit, firearms, and daggers sat in a circle arranging their equipment. They were a combat team from Illumra, following their order to capture some Inhumans in the Frost Pine Village and bring them back for research. These Inhumans look the same as normal people from the outside, so don't capture the wrong ones. Keaton looked at his watch and commanded the rest to stand up. "Arrange your gear. We move on my signal." At this time, a human-shaped shadow passed the alley outside the woods. A member pointed over and said, "Captain, there's a passerby over there. Is it an Inhuman?" "Probably. There are many beasts in this forest. Only Inhumans would be alone. Capture this one, and we will complete the mission." They were eager to do it. However, they waited for a few seconds, then realized that the captain was not giving any response. They looked back and were hit with a shock. The lips of the usual fierce and vicious Keaton were trembling in fear. His face was pale, and even the cigar dropped onto the floor. "What's wrong?" A member was confused. Keaton's gulped before saying, "The plan is cancelled. Leave now." "Why?" The team was surprised. "That's not an Inhuman," Keaton said in anger. He's Black Phantom. He had a conflict with the family not long ago." "Black Phantom?" Everyone in the team was stunned. The voice from Hanzio was almost like a clap of thunder that made his heart jump and sweat even in such cold weather. Hanzio bent his fingers. 7 blades flew out from the pockets on his waist and legs, floating in midair as they locked onto Keaton's vital points. Blue-quality compounded magnetic chain split blades. Their damage was based on the user's energy usage, and they were able to form many weapon shapes while maintaining a very high attack speed. Keaton was terrified by the floating blades. He hurriedly listed the team's identity and mission without leaving anything out. When he heard that they belonged to Illumra, Hanzio's eye twinkled. He easily understood why these people were afraid of him. He had helped Liu Cheng to attack Illumra's territory back in the Green Valley Ville, and stood against them. But when he saw the rumors on the dark net, Illumra only wanted to revenge Liu Cheng but did not mention him at all. "I should be their enemy, are they? Scared of me?" Hanzio was suddenly interested. "Black Phantom is in the northern continent, and he wants to visit us." The eyes of Daryl, the leader of the Illumra family, opened wide and round like an angry bear. "We have yet to find him, and now he dares to find us first. He's totally disrespecting us. I'm going to kill him." The third in command, Sekai, was a Sharnuk. He was huge and had dark skin. "Don't be so impulsive. He's not to be messed with lightly. He definitely has some backing and no fear if he dares to find us alone." Daryl stared across. "Xiao Jin, what's your suggestion?" Xiao Jin pushed his monocle and said calmly, "He only said visit. If he wanted to attack us, he didn't have to tell us. We should make contact with him and see what he wants. Maybe he's not planning to engage combat." Daryl frowned and said, "I will see him myself and see how he's going to explain killing our men." Hanzio left Frost Pine Village in a plane after staying for 1 day and harvesting experience points. He brought along all his equipment and went to the Illumra family. He did not feel a sense of belonging to the family of his original body, but he was unavoidably curious about it, so he wanted to ask around about it. The situation in the northern continent was different from the other continents. Unlike other nations that were peaceful, the conflict between Theseus and Raylan was very intense. Killing happened very often, and soldiers, agents, and superhumans battled in secret. Hatred was deeply rooted in both nations. Theseus and Raylan were both very invasive countries, and one mountain could not fit two tigers. For more than 20 years, they had not stopped trying to defeat and erase each other. Only recently, when they decided to work together for the expedition to conquer the Germinal organization, did they pause. Someone's coming. The sentinel warned his friend to stay alert. The shadow soon revealed itself fully and appeared in their sights. The sentinels straightened their faces. It was none other than Black Phantom, whom the leader had ordered them to keep an eye out for. Han Zio's eyes twinkled. The juncture was heavily guarded, just as he expected from the intelligence that he had gathered. He wondered what Illumira's attitude toward him would be. Before long, he was given the answer to that question. After a short wait, the juncture opened, and a man surrounded by a team walked toward Han Zio. He stopped in front of him and said with a fake smile on his face, "Mr. Black Phantom, welcome to the Illumira family. Please follow me, the leaders have been expecting you." Well, looks like the fight will not happen so soon, and from the way he was talking, they are probably planning a feast at Hong Gate 1. Sigh, how troublesome. Couldn't it just be solved by the simplest solution? Violence. Han Zio squinted his eyes and asked out of the blue, "Right. What faction do you belong to, home or the others?" Ummel's expression became unnatural. He coughed and said, "I'm a member of the Illumira family, that's all." Han Zio smiled and did not say anything. They kept silent till the door of the territory appeared in sight. Ummel was relieved. "We're here. The leaders are waiting for you in the hall." The door opened, and hundreds of soldiers came forward, staring at Han Zio. They seemed to have confidence in numbers. Ummel was leading the way in front. He walked very slowly on purpose to spend more time in the middle of the armed forces with the motive of planting fear in Han Zio. Han Zio understood what was happening, but he was not affected. Suddenly, he saw a floating ID outside the crowd. There were players here. Makes sense. Illumira is not far from Frost Pine Village, so some players that left the novice village will have come here. Han Zio narrowed his eyes. There are already players in Illumira, so why are they still capturing Inhumans? They all had a Bamboo Rain before their names. They were members of the Bamboo Rain Guild, a small casual guild with less than 100 members who were all young people. The guild leader, Bamboo Rain Fragrance, was a beautiful young girl with long hair. They seemed to be welcoming someone. Is this an unexpected event? Let's go and take a look. Maybe we can trigger some missions, the somewhat handsome Bamboo Rain Fly said. Then he looked at the rest of the members inquiringly. Of course, no one objected. This group of players from Bamboo Rain Guild was the only players in this colony, and they had only found it by chance. There was not much information included on the maps of this place that were sold in the novice village. They walked toward the crowd, and Bamboo Rain Chuan yelled with surprise, "That's Black Phantom." The group was shocked. They took a closer look and confirmed they were right, then looked at each other in awe. Why is Black Phantom here? The people here seemed to be hostile toward him. Bamboo Rain Fragrance frowned and pondered aloud. He just appeared in various novice villages a few days ago, so there must be a reason he's suddenly here. Bamboo Rain Xuan's eye brightened up. This is an unexpected plotline. There might be hidden missions. Lucky I have yet to see Black Phantom. Now I can learn abilities from him without going to a novice village. I remember there are some video posters looking for footage of him. They stopped in front of the hall as they saw Han Zio entering it. The hall was a high-level area that was not open to them. They needed enough relationship points to enter, but Black Phantom could just go in. They were frustrated. "Let's all wait outside," Bamboo Rain Fragrance said. "He might come out very soon." Thank you for watching. Subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.